Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, of course it does. Of course it gets worse. It's a 2025-26 Sacramento Kings, a season of loss and of injuries.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. I am James Hamby, Kings Insider for ESPN 1320, the Kings Beat, and of course, host of Locked On Kings. I have covered the Sacramento Kings for the last 16 years as a credentialed media member, also a member of the Pro Basketball Writers Association. Locked On Kings is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We appreciate it. If you're watching here on YouTube, love it if you get the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, all of that stuff. That would be amazing. We'd love to see it. Also, today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. All right, let's get into our keys to today's game. We're going to finish the episode with 6 quick thoughts as we do every single game night. We're also going to talk about the vets scoring and realistically no one else. But before we dive into any of that, Keegan Murray got hurt again. This is a disaster for the Kings. It really is. Look, this is a former number 4 overall pick. They've been waiting and waiting and waiting to get him back on the court. He's had a series of injuries this year, which are just a mess. A thumb injury cost him the first 15 games of the season. This ankle injury that he had cost him 20 games. And now here he is, 4th game back from injury. And he came down, and to be honest with you, it didn't look that bad. It did not look like he rolled it again. What it did look like he did do was jam it. He came down a little hard on the left leg, smacked it into the floor, and look, 8 minutes into the game, he's done, completely done for the night. He didn't look right last game either for whatever reason, but tonight's game, just an absolute disaster. And I'll tell you why it's a disaster. It's a disaster because Keegan Murray is one of the few bright spots that the Kings have as a franchise. He's, again, 25 years old. He's a former number 4 overall pick. He's a phenomenal defensive player. He's really struggled to get his offensive game on track this year with all the fits and starts. But this is a player that you're hoping to build around. Again, this isn't a catastrophic injury, but if I'm the Kings and, we've talked to Keegan Murray in the last week, he said, look, this is the first ankle injury he's ever had. And it took him longer than he thought to get back. And to be honest with you, he didn't look 100% the entire time. And he said, I'm not going to be 100%. It's going to take until the offseason for this thing to heal all the way. And now we have a setback. I would not be shocked to see the Kings sit him down for the final 22 games of the season and say, we're just not going to risk it. There's no reason to risk it. The season is over. Now, here's the flip side of this. Look, he's averaging 14.5 points per game, 6 rebounds, shooting 42.3% from the field, 27.9% from 3. Both of those shooting numbers are the worst of his career. This has not been a good offensive season for him. But again, with all of the beginnings and the ends and all that. But here's the deal. He's about to start a 5-year, $140 million contract. Now, look, I'm not putting him in the injury-prone category. He's been relatively healthy throughout his career. He played through a thumb injury for a good portion of his second season. But there has to be some sort of concern here because the idea here in the final 24 games after the All-Star break was for Keegan Murray to really take over and be, start to build some momentum for what he's going to be next season. This is just another in a long line of setbacks, and you can't keep having these setbacks. Again, I don't know if Keegan Murray's ever going to average 20 a game for a season, but I certainly think that there's an opportunity for him to average, 18 to 20 in the final month and a half of the season. And that kind of seems like it might be out the window at this point. And so the focus shifts to a bunch of young players that you just don't know. Neat Clifford, perfectly good young rookie player. Max Reno, Dylan Cardwell's out for a month with the ankle injury, but all of a sudden the focus is shifting to, can Patrick Baldwin on a two-way contract play? Can you get anything out of Killian Hayes? Like, this realistically should have been about Keegan Murray taking some sort of leap in the final 24 games of the season. And now the Kings aren't going to get that opportunity. They're not going to get the opportunity to see what they have, to know exactly how they're going to build moving forward around him or not, unless he comes back and he plays in a couple of games. I'm just not sold that he's going to. Look, the Kings injury list is brutal at this point. Domantas Sabonis already had knee surgery. He's out for the year. Zach LaVine had pinky surgery. He's out for the year. DeAndre Hunter had eye surgery. He's out for the year. Like, these things keep stacking up. We can throw Cardwell in that as well. He'll get back, but maybe for like the last 6 or 7 games of the season with his ankle sprain. So there should be a lot of disappointment tonight, not in Keegan Murray, but in the situation. And I think that's tough. Again, Kings fans, you got to pin your hopes to something, and that something was supposed to be Keegan Murray down the stretch, and now that's been thrown into question. Doug Christie talked about it in post game. He did not have an update on Keegan Murray at all, which is not all that unusual. The Kings play tomorrow night on the second night of a back-to-back in Dallas against the Mavericks. Again, I'm going to just predict it now that Keegan Murray, the chance of him playing is slim to none. He was ruled out extremely quickly from the team this evening. Again, that could be because the game was already out of control in the first quarter, but it could also be that they're just going to take a cautious approach and let this thing heal up the right way, and maybe start again next season when he's got a little bit better luck and a 100% healthy bill of health. Outside of that, it was a rough game. The Sacramento Kings, again, they fell to 13-47 on the season. They were not competitive at all in this game. The final score was, a 128-97. So we're talking about a 31-point loss. But that's kind of been par for the course. They had one win that snapped their losing streak yesterday, 2 days ago. Now it's going to be, all right, what's next? Is Neat Clifford stepping into a small forward role? DeMar DeRozan moving back to the small forward, and Neat Clifford jumping in the starting lineup as a shooting guard. Like, there's a lot of question marks about how the Kings move forward from this injury. And again, there's always a chance that he's back quick, but I just don't think it's very likely. All right, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we're going to dive into sort of this weirdness it was this game with two veterans like shooting a lot of shots early and to be honest, just kind of taking over. And I don't know that that's what the plan is going forward or what it should be, but it was a bit awkward to watch. We'll be back in just a sec. Welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. And I've got my number one pick in the 5-Hour Energy Draft. I'm a standard cherry guy, but I also want to try this Confetti Craze, the Fruity Rainbow, or the Cotton Candy. Like, I'm going to go out and find these because they sound intriguing. And let's be honest, in a season like this, you need something to give you some sort of energy. 5-Hour Energy Shots gives you a boost with zero sugar, and they have lots of upcoming innovative flavors planned. So find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Today's show is also brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Gametime has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with the fans. Pull up the Gametime app pick a seat for an upcoming NBA game, and you can have tickets locked within minutes. You can see the view from the seat that you're purchasing. All the fees are right up front. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. That is LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. All right. Thank you for making Locked On Kings your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Every Dare Club. Get access to an ad-free audio feed of Locked On Kings compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major app. And you get an invite to the members-only Locked On Every Dare Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners to this show. You can find the link down in the description or go to lockedonkings.supercast.com to join in on the fun. All right, let's dive further into this game this evening. Yeah, yikes. How do we approach this? Russell Westbrook came out looking for his shot this evening. So much so that he took 14 shots in the first quarter, and he scored, plenty of points. I think he had 17 points coming out of the first quarter, but he also took 18 shots in the first half. That can't be the design here. Again, he goes 8 of 14 in the first quarter. The rest of the team shot 1 of 10. Now you could say, well, why give it to somebody else when you're scoring and they're not? And the problem is that Russell Westbrook is a point guard, and he's controlling how players get shots, where they get their shots, how effective they can be as players because he's the one with the ball. Now, look, I'm not going to put this loss on Russ. This game was already out of control early. Anytime you just start breaking every shot early in a game, you're going to be in trouble. And at least he made the first quarter palatable. But this is about 5 players playing together. It's about a team. It's about figuring out ways to develop young players and to bring these guys along. So when your starting point guard, again, doesn't have an assist in the first half and you have like 1 or 2 assists as a team in the first quarter, and it's, 8 of 14 shooting for one guy and 1 of 10 for the rest of the team, that's just not conducive to winning at all. And it's also not conducive to developing the talent around Russell Westbrook. So I'm hoping that this is a one-off, that we don't see a bunch of games like this from here on out. I mean, Westbrook took 1 shot in the second half, and whether that's by design or what, I don't know, but he took 1 shot and then didn't play a lot in the fourth quarter as this game got out of hand. But there needs to be some sort of rebalancing. DeMar DeRozan also, he has a nice game tonight. He scores a modest 15 points. He also, shout out to DeMar, he passed John Havlicek and Paul Pierce tonight, 2 former Celtics, to move into 20th place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. That's a huge accomplishment. Again, a top 20 scorer all time. Next up on the list is Steph Curry. I don't think he's going to catch Steph. And even if he does, it'll go back and forth throughout the rest of the season. It's not that far. He's not that far behind, but Steph has been banged up and not playing a bunch as of late. So we'll have to see how it kind of plays out and see if he gets, if he finds a way to, again, fight DeMar DeRozan as they move up the all-time scoring list together. Now, again, I don't want to take anything away from these 2 players. I do think that they have a necessity on this team. There is a place for them, especially since the Kings are only playing realistically these 2 and a little bit of Malik Monk as, your veteran influence for this group. So there's a lot of Precious Achiuwa. There's a lot of Max Reno, a lot of Neat Clifford. Even tonight, a lot of Patrick Baldwin. Killian Hayes got some run. So you are seeing a lot of young players getting on the court, but you need to see them kind of be part of what's happening. It can't just be that they're, cones out on the court. and, they're running cardio. The defensive effort from everyone involved was horrific. But also, like, you need to get players involved. I think DeMar DeRozan did a good job tonight. He had 7 assists. Russell Westbrook had 3 assists. Most of those came in the third quarter. But if they're going to be the guys who are bringing this young group along, they need to get everybody involved early. And it can't be about showing up and trying to score more points than Kevin Durant or something like that. I expect a better, more balanced effort when the Kings again play Dallas tomorrow. But again, it's a young group. And now all of a sudden, a lot of these young players are going to have to step up and play even more with Keegan Murray on likely out for the game. So again, I don't think that this is a full-fledged, DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook problem. But I also think that there's a way to get better and to help this team move forward. And hopefully that's what happens going into the Dallas game and then again continuing on this 5-game road trip. But these guys, they've had their opportunity in the league. They also had their opportunity to put the stamp on this season. And long before the Kings went young this season, it was already over. This team was too bad to compete. And so now you've got yourself in a situation where it is all about development, about young players, about getting better for some of these guys and not a focus on things like moving up the all-time scoring list or moving up the all-time assist list or the all-time rebounds for a guard list. It can't be about that. It's got to be about development. So we're going to have more on this, but we're going to step aside. When we come back, we're going to dive into sort of the finer nuances of this specific game with 6 quick thoughts. There were some good takeaways. There's also a ton of bad, and we'll run the gambit here with all of it. So again, we're going to take a second to pay some bills. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Again, spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates. It's less stress, it's less time, there's more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this podcast, this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This isn't a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. All right, let's dive into 6 quick thoughts. Again, I do these after every single Sacramento Kings game. You can find 6 quick thoughts on all of your social media platforms, on X and on Blue Sky. If you don't mind, go to X, go to Blue Sky, give us a follow. Follow our Locked On Kings accounts wherever you're hanging out, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. We're producing content and posting on all of those locations each and every day. But let's dive into this game right here. As I said in the opening, it got worse. Like, look, losing 16 games is bad. 16 games in a row, which the Kings just did. They just snapped their losing streak. But I feel like losing Keegan Murray to another injury is even worse. It's a dark cloud hanging over this season. So again, the Kings fell to 13-47 on the season. They lost 130 to 97. It wasn't even really, it didn't feel like it was even that close, to be honest with you. And it 128-97. I'm sorry, 128-97. But let's dive into sort of the 6 quick thoughts from this specific game. 6 quick thought number 1 is just shrug. Like, at least someone came in ready to shoot. Russell Westbrook, 14 shots in the first quarter, 18 in the first half. When I looked up and I saw he had 18 shots in the first half, it was like, oh my gosh, what in the world? Like, this is not the type of basketball the Kings should be playing at this point in the season. He did finish the night with the team high 22 points on 10 of 19 from the field. So really solid as far as that goes. As far as, the efficiency, he also was 1 of 7 from 3, but he didn't really have any other stats to put up. There weren't a bunch of assists. He finished with 3. He didn't hit the glass like he used to, which is something that we've seen over the course of the last, couple of weeks, where his rebounding numbers have dipped. That could be because the Kings are doing a better job at team rebounding, but also I'm not sure. He just has not been hitting the glass like he has throughout his career. And I would say that, like, somebody had to raise their hand, and Westbrook raised his hand the highest. And so I guess that's what's going to happen sometime. Let's get to number 2, which is the face palm emoji. I kind of feel like most of today's 6 quick thoughts are emojis. But Keegan Murray attempted a defensive challenge in the paint and came down awkwardly on his left foot, his left ankle. And that's an ankle that already cost him 20 games. Like, this has been brutal all season long. And this was supposed to be Murray's chance to shine. And he just really didn't get that opportunity at all. He had very lackluster stats in the few minutes he did play. He was 0 of 2 from the field. He did get fouled on the 3-point shot and hit all 3 of his shots. So he scores 3 points, grabs a rebound, had a block shot in 8 minutes and 37 seconds. But we're going to have to wait and see what this means for Keegan Murray. If he's done for the season, if he's done for a couple of games, I'm not sure. But either way, this whole entire year just feels like a lost season for Keegan Murray, and it's a really big disappointment. Let's get to number 3, which is moving on up, and that is DeMar DeRozan passing John Havlicek, passing Paul Pierce to move up to 20 on the all-time scoring list. He had 15 points in this game, 7 assists, which was nice. He actually didn't even play all that much and had a really solid impact, 4 of 7 from the field. He played 24 minutes. So all those people out there who are looking for, a reduction in minutes for a guy like DeMar DeRozan, 24 minutes, for a guy like Russell Westbrook, 25 minutes, it is happening. Even, Drew Eubanks played 9 minutes tonight, but that's strictly because, number 1, Keegan Murray got hurt and they couldn't use Precious Achiuwa at that spot the entire game. But also, like, you've got an issue with Dylan Cardwell being out. And so it's opening the door for some of these veterans to play a little bit, but not a ton. Let's get to number 4, which was Let It Fly. Nate Clifford looked different with his 3-point shot tonight. He was super confident. He went 3 of 7 from 3. He scored 15 points, but it was something that he was catching in rhythm and firing. And I love to see that. That's sort of the next evolution of Nate Clifford. He has got to refine and become a more efficient scorer. And I think he's got a ton more in his bag than what he's shown so far this season. He's really good taking the ball off the dribble. He's really good getting into the key, firing really nice passes around the perimeter. But if he's going to stick as an NBA regular, as a rotational player on, not just a bad team, but a good team, which the Kings hope to be in the future, he's got to be able to hit his 3-point shot. Doug Christie talked about it early in the season. He said, look, we're going to concentrate on that during the offseason. We're not going to make a bunch of tweaks or anything else. We're going to let him get comfortable as an NBA player and then kind of work from there. But I definitely feel like Nate Clifford tonight specifically just looked a little different, a little more confident, a little bit more ready to fire when the ball touched his hands. And that's a good thing. 7 attempts is a good thing. So all of that is, again, it's a good point that we're looking at Nate Clifford taking a step. Our point number 5, 5 quick thoughts, 6 quick thoughts, but point number 5. which is outdueled. Maxime Reynaud had his double-double streak end at 3 games. He's got 11 on the season. He's either in the lead or tied for the lead for the most double-doubles amongst rookies, depending on how Derek Queen did this evening. But in this game, he grabbed 8 rebounds. He had 11 points. He wasn't a big part of what was happening, which I again attribute to the guards not finding ways to get him open and sort of get him downhill. He did miss a couple of bunnies early, and maybe that impacted what he was doing. But overall, just kind of a bit of a quiet night. And he had a quiet night against Alperen Şengün, who absolutely destroyed everybody who they put out there. Alperen Şengün, again, an all-star. He plays a game like a slinky falling down a set of stairs. He had 26 points, 13 rebounds, 11 assists. So he notched a triple-double, and that's not something that Max should be allowing to happen each and every time he goes out. He's got to get better defensively, which, again, kind of like Neat Clifford's three-point shot. The Kings will address a lot of the defensive issues that Max has this offseason. At least he's vocal. He just needs to get stronger. He needs to get bigger. He needs to get more physical. Those are issues that he had at the college level, and you're going to have an offseason to check some boxes here if you're the Kings. All right, let's get to number 6 of our 6 quick thoughts. We had an appearance. Recently signed two-way player Patrick Baldwin Jr. made his Kings debut. Again, it wasn't anything special. It's not like Patrick Baldwin came out and was just unbelievable. But look, he played 20 minutes. He goes 2 of 6 from the field. He missed both of his 3-point shots. He hit 1 of 2 at the line. He had 3 offensive rebounds for 3 total rebounds. Like Killian Hayes in the last game, he had a bunch of fouls, which is just like being bright-eyed and not adjusting to the NBA game super fast. So 4 personals, but he also had 2 steals. So on the night, he had 5 points. Not a bad first showing for Patrick Baldwin. And I think the interesting thing, man, he's just smooth and he's crazy long and he's got good footwork. He's quick. I think that this could be a player. Again, he hasn't been able to figure it out so far, but there have been lots of players who at 23 haven't figured it out. And then by 24, 25 do figure it out, especially taller players. So I wouldn't put Patrick Baldwin in like the center conversation. So, centers, you're always waiting till they're 25 to see how they develop. But Baldwin's a 7-footer, and he's a 7-footer that grew since he got in the league. So it's not easy to have, late growth and to kind of be gangly and a little out of control. So I thought Patrick Baldwin did a good job tonight of just getting his feet wet. I also thought Killian Hayes, he's just looking more natural and like more ready. Again, it didn't equate to anything special tonight. He goes 1 of 9 from the field in 20 minutes of action. 1 of 3 from 3. He actually did hit a 3, but he did have 4 assists. He had 3 points and he had a steal. He only turned the ball over 1 time. And that problem that he had in the first game where he had 5 personal fouls in like 11 minutes, he didn't have a single personal foul in this game. So he did a much better job. I think he's a pretty solid defender. I would actually like to see the Kings give him a longer look and maybe let him sign for the rest of the season. We'll have to see if that happens, but it clearly he's playing instead of Devin Carter at this point, who barely got off the bench at the end of the game. No, actually he didn't. He got a DMP coach's decision. That's back-to-back games where he hasn't played. The last game he had a back issue and wasn't available, but it does feel like they want to give Killian Hayes at least a look here and see if, they want to keep him for a second 10-day or maybe sign him for the rest of the season. So we'll have to wait and see if he's lucky enough to steal away the 15th roster spot. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Again, give us a thumbs up, give us a rating and review, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications so you get a ding every single time the show goes live. And also, if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayers Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. Click down below in the description on the Everydayer Club or go to lockedonkings.supercast.com. Hey, we'll see you tomorrow.